Welcome to Rapid Fire Manufacturing. I'm with Peter Lengyel. He is the CEO and President of Safran USA. We're in the lovely Virginia, Alexandria. So thank you so much, Peter, first off, for serving our country and allowing me to be here today.
Pleasure. Look forward to it.
Thank you. I want to start with something that my audience will really resonate. What does the Akron Zips mean to you?
Akron Zips. My father started his football career there. Actually, he's a first generation of Hungarian immigrants, and so it was quite an honor for him to go to college in the first place. But he ended up being a graduate assistant there, and then moved on to coaching roles successively after that. Heidelberg, Cornell University, Worcester College was his first head coaching job, and then on to the Marshall University after the tragic crash that killed the team and the coaches. And then after that, he became an athletic director and served for another quarter of a century at various universities.
So how much of an impact did your father have on leadership roles in life?
Oh, I think it was an example from the beginning. We all, my brother, my older brother, and my older sister, I'm the youngest, grew up going to practices and seeing leadership in action on a daily basis. I think we were old enough by the time we went to Marshall University to recognize the significant impact that it had on that community and the effect that a team sport can have on bringing a community together after a tragedy such as that.
Absolutely. As far as you getting into manufacturing, could you walk me through that a little bit? How did that happen?
A long and circuitous route, I would say. I was in the Navy for all my adult life. And then during that time, I was working in largely anti-Soviet submarine activities in the P-3 aircraft. So we were exposed on a regular basis to innovative technologies, making use of them, testing them when we were forward deployed, and making use of those capabilities. And then everyone from the Naval Academy is an engineer by training, using that background and then my operational experience. And then rounding it out with a year of studies in my final duty station in Paris as an attaché at École Militaire, a program they call CHEAR, which was equivalent to our NDU or ICAF.
Was it the French Legion?
That's École Militaire is their military academy. So it is the place where all their military officers go for graduate studies and studies in the progression of their selected career paths. And so this one was focused on defense industry base, and we did a lot of study work and field work, not only in France, but across Western Europe, engaged with our partners up at NATO, and then did one, as I said, big trip every year, and ours was to Brazil to see a foreign partner's capabilities, which are significant in Brazil with Embraer and Helibra. So it was a fascinating time, and it was a good course of study in industrial partnerships. And my role as an attaché in defense cooperation was to bring synergies and similarities, interoperability to the systems that we were building. So that was where I made the transition from operational use of aerospace products into actual production. And
so as far as your military background and then getting into manufacturing, how much did that play a role as well? Just in leadership qualities and kind of sticking to disciplines and stuff?
I will tell you, the transition from a military background to an industrial background is not easy for anyone. Timing is much of it. Okay. Background and influences, as you said, are a lot of it. But the biggest transition is a mindset of, as I tell everybody that I talk to in mentoring, as they make that transition, it's not easy. And you have to get away from spending money, which is what we're very good at. And it's what we typically put in our fitness reports and evaluations, is how much money we spent or were responsible for. Whereas as soon as you walk into a civilian for-profit institution, it's about making money and how you can strengthen those revenue streams in any particular company that you work for.
Totally different mindset.
It's a flip of a mindset. And I will tell you, you work longer and harder, at least in my experience, in making that change amongst yourself and educating yourself in the ways necessary to be successful in that realm.
Yeah. Now, as far as sustainability, how is Safran kind of moving towards the next era? Electrification and sort of that.
It's the number one priority for our group, sustainability. That is, we're focused on the number one priority from our CEO on down and across all of our group companies is decarbonization of commercial aerospace. And in my mind, that includes military aerospace because they're the largest users of avgas and in the future, sustainable aviation fuels as we hope. But we've made great strides as a group with everything from our propulsion solutions, which have now all been tested on sustainable aviation fuel, some up to 100%. In fact, we did the first 100% helicopter flight with our partners Bell on a 505. We had a goal of testing, using our engine test cells rather, at a minimum of 10% SAF. And we have done so, and we're ahead of schedule in our scope 1 and 2 reduction of emissions from our sites and from our supply chain. We had 400 of our tier 2 suppliers and below join us for a conference where we explained our steps for sustainability and what we expect of them as suppliers, and they've signed on to our requirements. So I think that we're doing great, making great strides as an enterprise, but also in the technologies and the focus on bringing those sustainable technologies to bear. Case in point, we just this past year certified our first fully electric engine, Ingenious, on a Daher aircraft, and that is a fully electric solution for one to 4 passengers. So it's quite an achievement. We're waiting for FAA certification here in the United States. That's been applied for, and now we're in the process of expanding that in a hybrid solution that'll carry up to 15 passengers. So we're quite confident in that focus, but it all comes down to the focus on our over $2 billion a year spend in research and development. And 75% of that is focused on decarbonization.
Absolutely. And so with the emphasis of kind of building and sourcing in the US, how is Safran strengthening your footprint with the workforce? Are you putting steps into to increase that?
Absolutely. There's no question that the United States market is key and critical to any group company that's working in aerospace and defense. It's the largest market of its kind in the world. So we've always been dedicated to the U.S. market. We've been here for over half a century, and we have focused and brought our leading edge technologies into the United States. That's not an easy step. So if you can imagine a foreign-owned industry like ours making the effort to first clear the export licenses in our where our headquarters is in Paris, for our global interest, because we are a global country or company rather. So that is the first step, and then to bring it into the United States, and then to build sites either through greenfield or through targeted acquisitions. And we now have over 10,000 employees in the United States, and we're in 27 states. So that's quite a footprint. And we've invested further in targeted acquisitions that continue to build out our U.S. offerings, not just to our U.S. customers, but also the United States government. And that entailed bringing about a recognition of the need for a single special security agreement, which allows those companies selected within our portfolio to act as a U.S. company legally. And so they're entitled to work in classified programs. And we have created that headquarters here in the D.C. area. And we'll gradually expand that as our offerings match U.S. national security and national defense needs.
That's phenomenal. And when you talk about 10,000 employees, my first thought is, do you have some mentorship and programs or leadership programs set in place for Safran to help them excel and kind of move through the ranks, or whatever their plans are?
I can tell you that coming from a government background and then moving into an industry, I'm amazed. Pleasantly amazed and very appreciative of what we've done with Safran University. We've made it a global program. We have a Safran University campus in France where we fly people in from around the globe, but we also have learning centers scattered across the globe and a very concentrated effort here in the United States. We can do at your desk, you can do language training, you can do engineering training, you can do training in sales opportunities, whatever it is, anything that involves your specific task set, and as well as anything else that you're targeting for career upward mobility. You can take those courses, gain recognition for them, and then gain, I would say, an appreciation and special consideration for moving up the ladder.
That is really cool. So
Yeah.
if they could decide, hey, I want to learn, French, and they want to move to France or work in Safran, they have the capabilities to kind of move around. And
Absolutely. Case in point, we recently had an intern come to our office, which is a wonderful program under the French government that allows, I would say, junior academics, people who have not yet truly entered the workforce, may have done some internships, that type of stuff. They pay for them to go outside of France to learn the international scope of business and interest from a French perspective, and then ultimately bring that back to French companies and the French government, which I think is a great thing. And it's a cost sharing program. So it doesn't fully cost Safran to support this. So it's mutually beneficial. And we recently had a young gentleman who was former French paratrooper, who was literally at the last year of his eligibility to join us. We interviewed him, found him quite energetic and very focused on making a decided career move, and brought him to the office for an 18-month period. He worked incredibly hard, learned everything that he could learn about Safran. That was his daily task from the moment he walked in the office. And at the end of 18 months, we got him hired by one of our group companies in Singapore. So it's a great success story, and I think one that bears testimony not only to Safran's training programs, but also to the personal initiative of that young man.
Yeah, absolutely. And from personal experience, when a company invests in you, you're going to do a lot more for the company. You feel like you're part of it, right?
That's it. That's teamwork.
Nowadays, there's some companies that don't invest in their employees, and then they wonder why they leave.
All too true.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of supply chain, there's volatility, there's obviously the tariffs going on. What principles are guiding you in some of those decision-making processes to remain resilient during operations?
For us, we're in a safety business. I mean, people don't fly unless they feel comfortable. And so everything that we do has to have a safety focus first and foremost. If we're not focused on that, then we're missing the problem. And it's not a problem per se, it's the challenge, because every new technology requires testing, 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 certification of the sources. Everything that we do has to be carefully analyzed and step-by-step processes instituted so that we can make sure that everything that we put into the market space is safe for the flying public and for our military customers as well. So safety is our number one focus, and standardization of those processes. As I said, our first priority is decarbonization. Our second priority is digitalization. And that means bringing the digital world into practice in everything that we do so that we can replicate repeated steps, for instance, tech manuals, those type of things, make use of AI in a concerted but a very safe, monitored fashion, and then move that digitalization effort so that we can speed along the things that need to be speeded along, but also maintain a close eye on the things that always require multiple steps of observation and control.
Yeah. And digitalization, incredibly important, especially for traceability and stuff too.
Indeed.
Instead of just having a piece of paper, you just check something off and hopefully that person did it correctly. You're actually able to a lot more traceability, good for the, safety.
Absolutely. I mean, we've all faced that in the recent past, and most notably with the case involving counterfeit parts. That digitalization will assist with that as well, as will AI solutions to that.
So how are you implementing AI in your processes?
We have a fantastic IT team led by a wonderful senior executive in our group who has made sure that all of our sites are following standardization, largely for security purposes, anti-hacking, protection of our IP, but also furthering our business cases by implementing those AI test cases. Just last year alone, we had over 60 very targeted small group enterprises analyzing AI use cases for their particular business units. And as you know, the Safran Group is quite large, and we do everything from nose to tail on an aerospace platform. So from landing systems to electrical and power to nacelles to landing systems, again, all of those companies are making use of those AI caseworks applicable to their business peculiarities, I would say. So it's a great effort. We'll continue to add them, but with the caveat that it's always going to be wrong until we say it's right. The engineering professionals of our group with years and years of experience, they're going to be the ones who are going to decide whether that is, we can implement that solution or not.
Instead of just going with,
absolutely,
that's it. Yeah. So as far as, I want to ask about some advice that you'd give to someone just getting into the industry. If you can go back in time and tell yourself something just getting into manufacturing, what would you tell yourself?
Study STEM. Number one, study STEM. I mean, and as we were talking offline earlier, and I include STEAM because I think the arts is part of that. I think the musical talents, the mathematical interplay there, all of those things. If you have a young person who is studying in that fashion and then making the connection to what I would call, this is the most exciting period of aerospace development since we started human flight, literally. Hypersonics, supersonics, advanced air mobility, all of these capabilities that we're bringing to bear. Those are the things, including things like sustainable aviation fuel, all the chemistry that goes behind that, all these things interplay. And if you can't see that right now is the most exciting time to be in aerospace, I don't know what else to tell you,
Yeah.
because it literally encompasses everything that we're doing, changes the way that we will live in the future, and creates, I think, a very exciting career path and lifestyle that is very rewarding.
Wanted to ask you, what does this photo mean to you?
Crack the Whip. It's a great painting. It's down in the Washington Gallery. You probably heard my remarks at one of Joe Anselmo's events out in California. That to me represented the fragility of our supply chain and our relationships. The description of that painting is the most telling, because the game involves joining hands and locking together, but it's one of mutual convenience.
Mm.
And when things get too hard, then the last ones to join typically get flown off. My point in speaking to Joe's conference attendees at the Aviation Week conference out in Beverly Hills was that we shouldn't act like that. We're all in this together, and through the COVID crisis, we needed to strengthen both our resilience, but as well as our resilience and our comedy with fellow suppliers and fellow primes. So that was the point of my discussion. It was simply to say, this is a community. And just like the space community and just like the maritime community is very specific. And between all of us, there's a lot of smart minds out there, and we need to work as a community to face these things, as we're working right now through the tariff issues as a community, to make sure that, for instance, the 1971 agreement is adhered to, and we maintain a tax-free basis and a tariff-free basis for aerospace products. It means safety. It just comes down to that.
David Smith from Robinson talked about it as well with supply chain. It's like it's so hard to control anything with supply chain. You can do everything internally. It's a lot easier, but that's where it's really...
AI has been a great tool with that. I've been introduced through some very interesting folks with some compelling, I would say, products and services where they can do an AI analysis of anybody's supply chain and then take it down to critical nodes of failure, where if you don't realize it, you and three of your best buddies in the aerospace world are using the same supplier. And if that becomes a single point of failure through any criticality, they're tier 3 or below suppliers not getting to them, or simple manufacturing and production decisions where you're shipping products across oceans back and forth multiple times. Those decisions can be analyzed not just on a rational basis, but AI enabled as well, to say, look, these are where your weak points are. And it's that enterprise risk management approach, I think, that needs to be taken consistently, and not just as a result of a crisis like the COVID crisis, or even today with certain boundaries coming up on.
So is that an AI tool you implement at Safran?
We have yet to implement it, I would say, on a broad scale, but we are using those type of techniques, as are others, and as is the Pentagon. So it's an extremely important aspect of what we're doing these days. You can find those critical nodes and those single points of failure relatively quickly, and then realize that is unsustainable, either from a tariff perspective, or from a tax perspective, or from a quality control perspective. So we have to be very careful. Again, safety is number one for us.
Absolutely. Incredibly important.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can edit.
Okay. As we were discussing improving and expanding our U.S. base, especially in the defense realm, that's where Safran Defense and Space, Inc. came about. It was our obligation, our dedication to expand our offerings to the United States government for national security and national defense purposes. So we took what we had in the beginning, which was Safran data systems, telemetry capabilities. It's how we get the James Webb telescope photos. We launched it on our rocket. Those are our near IR mirrors, and Safran Data Systems brings those photos back to Earth. We also had a Safran Optics One, providing advanced optronic capabilities, laser designation capabilities, forward air controller type of capabilities to the United States Department of Defense. And then we've made a targeted acquisition of a company called Aerolia for PNT purposes, position, navigation, and timing, which obviously is of great interest to our armed forces. And then finally, and most recently, a company called Prelegence, which excelled in AI-enabled data, or imagery analysis, rather. So with those core capabilities that we headquartered here in the DC area, we now have a substantial portfolio to offer for things like advanced air mobility, CCAs for the companies that are producing those, General Atomics, Kratos, et cetera, Anduril, and then also to expand, I would say, in the space direction as well. So we just opened up a shop to do plasma propulsion capabilities out in Colorado. So again, you bring all those things together, and then we will gradually add other group companies within the Safran portfolio to expand our classified offerings here in the United States.
That's very cool. Now, with the image, is that for flight purposes in general, or how does that?
It's networked, as one would one would say. You can do the imagery based on the source itself. It can be a mobile asset in terrestrial aerospace, or it can be extraterrestrial aerospace. But we do the eyeball in the sky type of solutions for our own UAV, which flew over Paris for the Paris Olympics, and we also did anti-drone deterrence capabilities and spoofing capabilities during that evolution as well.
Oh, wow. I think actually my buddy is the one, he sold, I forget how many machines that the James Webb, the machines that were machining the parts for.
It's a great program. RIOSC is our company that does the mirrors. So we've done the ELT, the extra large telescope. We've done a lot of mirrors for those observation capabilities around the globe.
That's very cool. Is there any final thing you'd like to say to the audience?
Join Safran.
Join Safran. There
Join
we go.
Safran. I will tell you this, there is nothing more pleasant and more, I would say, inspiring than coming to work for Safran on a daily basis. We have the best people in the business. I just spoke to another past employee who is very, very eager to rejoin us. I think that the camaraderie, the team spirit that we have everything going for us, as well as that large investment in research and development. If you want to be on the cutting edge of aerospace, I think that you could find no better place than within the Safran Group.
Join Safran.
It's a great pleasure. Thank you very much.